Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I am Marla Kane with FIA. FIA is the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency. If you're not familiar with FIA, we are the state agency that administers the Pennsylvania State Grant for in-state Pennsylvania residents. Some other things that we do here at FIA, which many people don't realize, is that we are, as access partners, the face of FIA. So you may know us. We are the folks that come into your high school, into your secondary, post-secondary institutions. We help families and students understand the financial aid process. We help them fill out that FAFSA. We help them understand the loans and the different repayment options that may be out there. We take it a step further and actually have them going into colleges, universities, and talking to our college seniors about many of the things Jason has been talking about. So it ties in we tie in very closely what Jason, how he feels and the things that he's out there doing while we're going in and we're talking to students about debt and financial literacy and repayment options. You'll also find us out in the community. So we'll meet up with any agency that needs assistance, whether it be the foster care industry, whether it be independent living, whether it be any other folks, career links, older workers. So we really are out there working with a vast variety of institutions and folks to help make the education process and going on to post-secondary education as easy and seamless as possible. What we're going to talk about today is, if you're not familiar, is we do have a free website that we have put together for everyone, anyone to use across the nation actually, and it is called educationplanner.org. It really is a great tool that can be used, as you can see, by not only students, but also by parents as well. You can see, in order to navigate our particular tool, that there's a couple different ways. Along the top, you'll see that red arrow. Hopefully you can follow my mouse. You'll see there's a student section, there's a parent section, and there's also a counselor section. You'll see then along the left-hand side that you're able to look at all those items that are available in that student section. I'd like to break it down for you a little bit, if you're not familiar, and talk about Education Planner. It's broken down into a variety of sections. First, we start off within that student section in the career planning area. You'll then see along the left-hand toolbar that we're also going to talk about preparing for school, paying for school, self-assessments, and yes, we have an Ask a Counselor section. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I happen to be the counselor. So this is an area where people can actually send an email. It can be a parent, it can be a student, and they may have a question about the financial aid process. They might have a question about careers, and we actually respond to them. It is actually me and some of my colleagues that will respond. We get questions from, believe it or not, all around the world. Really a great opportunity for folks to use. Taking some time, I want to show you some of the features that we have for your students that they can use Education Planner for. You are able to use this in the classroom. I want you to know within that counselor section there is a guide that will give you some tips and hints and ideas of how you could use this within your classroom. And please, it can be used. I've gone into classroom sessions. My poor kids themselves, they're guinea pigs. But I've gone into classroom sessions down into 5th grade using some of these activities all the way up to the college level. So here in the career planning section, you're going to see that there is a multitude of ways for a student to explore careers. And we think that's so important. We think it's important then to recognize that there's more than one way to recognize if a career might be right for them. So what do? You can follow along and see that we have a career cluster activity. We have which careers match your skills, a career search. We have career videos because, let's face it, they're all out on YouTube. That's the popular thing, watching funny videos. Ours aren't funny, though. You'll also see that we have hot jobs of the future. We talk about it's not all about the money because, as Jason says, you don't have to make a tremendous amount of money to be rich. So we do have that, and also some schools for your career. Let's take a look at some of those a little more closely. I decided that I'd click on that second one right now, which is which careers match your skills. And really, you could even start in, like I said, 5th, 6th grade with your kiddos. You can then use it again in 8th grade. I have schools that'll use it in 8th grade, and then they'll go along to help plan classes for ninth grade. I have some schools that'll use it again in 11th grade just to be sure that their kiddos are on the right track when they're looking to pick their major to move on to some sort of post-secondary education. We like to keep it simple. So we're going to ask simple questions, things like, I am good at. Well, obviously, you can see some of those answers. Are they good at working with your hands, building and fixing things, helping people? Then what we'll do, based upon their answers, is we provide them with the results. And we break it down in an easy format for that student to be able to read. So if they're good at working with their hands, you can see right here on the left-hand side, we give them a couple different types of careers that they might be interested in. And that's just one of the ways that are available in that career section. Another opportunity or another way in which students can look for careers is by going into the career search section. By clicking on that third link that's below, it's going to give them the opportunity to move out to a different website. And essentially what they're able to do is they're able to explore careers out on My Next Move. And basically what we do within Education Planner is we've decided not to recreate the wheel. There's some wonderful websites that are already out there. We have gained their permission to take our students directly to the part of the website that they can gain the information to, because there's just so many websites and kids tend to get lost in there. So we get them to the part exactly in which they need to be. So when they click on Go to My Next Move, it's going to bring them out to ONET. They're going to be able to search for occupations in many different ways. Obviously, I wouldn't do this with a 5th grader. I wouldn't even do this with a 7th grader. It would be a higher grade because there's a lot of stuff on here. Students will be able to search on that left-hand side starting based upon a keyword. They could search based upon career clusters. And many times our students just aren't aware what a career cluster is. So we do have an activity, and I'll show you that will explain it a little bit better. They can search by industry. They can search by job zone. This tends to confuse our students at a younger age. That's why I say older, because that job zone is just going to say, what jobs require little to no preparation, and then they'll reach all the way up to the doctorate level. There's also the bright outlook. Being over here, you'll see whether it's a rapid growth, numerous openings, new and emerging. There's a green economy sector that they can search for green jobs, jobs that are within the same family, and also those STEM, those science, technology, engineering, and math disciplines. All great ways to search for your students. The one that I love to do with students, whether they're in 7th grade or all the way up to 12th grade, my poor kiddos, I make them do it every year, is this career cluster activity. It is that first link, and essentially what you do with your students is you have them click the Start Now button. One thing I'd like to mention, you're not able to save any of the information here within Education Planner. So if you plan to use this for maybe your Chapter 339, in order to fulfill that, you would have to print these items in order to have them for your students. So basically what we do is we have 4 pages of simple questions in this career cluster activity. I am. Well, are they compassionate? Are they creative? Are they curious? What they will do is click on the box of the items that are relevant to them. They must click on at least one box in order to move forward. And of course, because we know how technology is and we know how our students are, it's going to swipe across the screen, kind of like when you swipe your phone to move on to the next page. There are 4 pages of questions, so I do want you to be aware of that. They will see results that are a little bit different than what I've provided for you here. Your students are only going to see 5 career cluster results that are relevant to the information in which they provided. Here, what I did instead is I wanted to show you the overall results so that you were familiar with what it looked like. And you can see all the breakdowns of those career clusters. If a student were to click on the link, and I don't have them active right now, but if the student were to click on the link, say the agriculture, food, and natural resources, another page would appear with tons of jobs that match up with that career cluster. The student then is able to explore even further. They're able to see, what are some of the common trends that go along with these jobs? What does the job entail? What kind of education do they need? their most important thing that they're looking at, sorry, Jason, is the money. So they're able to see how much money are they able to make. They're able to actually then look at different states. So you can see this really is a great conversation piece. So often we hear students say they want to go on to post-secondary ed, but they're just not quite sure. It's just another way to help you. Maybe you're using a program now at school. It's just another helper. It's a way to get them to think differently about careers and the ways in which they search. We have that hot jobs of the future. I think that's a fabulous, fabulous option out there. You know, we're so often hearing kids that are stuck thinking inside the box, you know, those traditional careers. And what we forget to mention, or students tend to forget, is that there's so many jobs outside the box. There are so many emerging jobs that we just don't even have employees ready for right now. And what we do is we want them to be aware of them. We want to show them that there are opportunities out there. Who would have thought we need astronauts? Who would have thought that we're going to need pilots? All of those things are going to show up out there, and maybe something that a student might not have thought about and can gain an interest based upon going and using Education Planner in that particular area. If we're to move over into the Preparing for School section, which is the next tab down, you're going to see we have breakdowns, or we call them subcategories within this section as well as the other one. So here in the Preparing for School section, you're going to see we have a checklist. We have areas regarding standardized tests. This is great as well because we're taking it a step further. We're helping them reach out to the SAT, the ACT. We're having them even go a step further and looking at GRE. So this is not just a website that ends when the student is a senior. They can come back to us. If they're used to using Education Planner at a young age, you know, starting off in that middle school and then continuation of using it in high school, they're going to remember, hey, Education Planner had some of these things and can help me as I'm looking forward to going on to graduate school. We also have a Find the Schools section, an Apply section, which is just going to give tips and hints and some suggestions about applying and admissions decisions at post-secondary education, and also college prep for different types of students. That's where we're looking at non-traditional students as well. So again, trying to make this an all-encompassing website for all students that are out there and not passing over one particular group. What we'll do is we'll take a moment to look at the Find Schools section. So very simply, in that Find School section, you'll see it, that third area down with my big giant red arrow. If the student were to click on that, it's going to take them to the College Matchmaker. That is one of my favorite areas to go, but there are a couple other ways in which the student could look for schools. On the left-hand side, take a look at the curved arrow. They could take a moment to read what to look for in a school. They could look at schools from A to Z. Maybe they have absolutely no idea, and this is their first time. They just want to look around at schools alphabetically. Believe it or not, some students like to do that. Maybe they want to compare schools. Maybe they want some information about visiting campuses and about campus life. And like I said before, we link out to the best of the best. So of course, we're going to link out to College Board, and we're going to link out to their Big Future. By clicking on that Big Future, it does take the students out to Big Future. I wanted to show you that on the left-hand side, you see my blue arrow listed there, that we always make sure that Education Planner is still in the background, that we're still there. We open up a new window for students to go to. We want students to feel comfortable that no matter what site they're going to, that it is recommended by us, that we're still there, that they can come back to us and then continue onward where they are. So if you have used Big Future before, you know in the very beginning there's 3,703 colleges to choose from, but recognize that obviously students are able to break that down into smaller sections. And they're able to do that when they go right over into that College Board area. You can see that they're able to do a couple of different things. They're able to break it down by the type of school. Is it a 4-year versus a 2-year? Is it public or private that they're looking to maybe want to stay at? Is it a particular size? And many times our students, you're aware, are familiar with College Board because that's where they need to go for their SATs. But unless we are guiding them to go back, oftentimes we don't see them using these other free opportunities that are available out there. Students are also able within that college matchmaker to be able to search based upon the location, the major, the cost and the financial aid associated with that particular institution, the admissions requirements, the sports and the activities in which they have, housing and programs, and then some specialized options as well. Moving right along, and I apologize, this goes a little bit slow. We also, in the paying for school section, to follow with Jason, we do talk about dollars and cents. While we have those student aid checklists in there, we have a student aid 101, we have ways to pay. We have some information about finding grants and scholarships. We also talk about those student aid packages or award letters. We are also going to talk about saving and reducing costs with some hints and tips, avoiding sticker shock, paying for school with a Q&A kind of section, and calculators. I cannot stress the importance of calculators. It really is a great way for our students to take a look at the cost of institution and what that borrowing will be over 4 years, putting in the interest rate, seeing how much they're going to owe at the end of those 4 years with the capitalization of the interest, and then breaking it down and seeing how much they're going to owe every single month. So great opportunity out there for your students. And I do have another website I'll show you that takes that even a step further and does all the math for us. Finally, within Education Planner, there is an area called self-assessment. And in the self-assessment area, it's going to ask some questions or give the kiddos something to think about. You know, what kind of student are you? What's your learning style? What study habits can you improve? And how strong is your character? In particularly, I enjoy what's your learning style. I tease all the time when my kiddos were younger, I would go into their classrooms and I would tell the teachers, instead of fitting them alphabetically, I think we should have them all take a learning style quiz, because you're going to see there's going to be a series of 20 questions that these students are going to answer. It's then going to let them know whether they're visual, auditory, or tactile. Love using it at the younger levels, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Once you get above that, you know, it's not as much fun, because I can walk into a classroom, and you guys know it too. When you see that kiddo in your class that's fidgeting, that's tapping his knee, is tapping his pencil, that's a tactile learner. So right away I walk into the classroom and I say, hey, I bet you're tactile. Let's see what your test scores are. And they think you're magical in 5th grade. They don't think you're magical anymore in 11th grade when you say that. But it is going to be 20 questions that the student is going to answer, and then we'll provide them with the results. I did just give you just the results section for auditory. What's great here, it's going to tell them, you know, if we were actually to take this test, it would break it down by the percentages, and your students would know if they're 50% or 75% auditory, or if, you know, they're a mix of both. We let them know more than that, though. We say, you know, as this particular learner, you probably do this, 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 and this. Here's some places where you should sit in the classroom. Here's some places where you shouldn't sit in the classroom. Here's some things that you can do when you're studying to help you better. Just a way to help them, because I can remember being in school that sometimes those study skills get lost. It's just something that we tend to forget. So it's a great helper and a great reminder. It's also great for parents. If you're curious to see how your kiddo learns, have them take that learning style test. I can tell you straight out, I have a 16-year-old who's an auditory learner. We have to shut everything off in the house, because if the TV is on, he's listening to it. Another great website that we have available for you, which goes along with a personal finance and financial literacy, is called mysmartborrowing.org. MySmartBorrowing is an interactive tool that we at FIA created because we believe that the importance of not over-borrowing for higher education. So let's talk a little bit about MySmartBorrowing before I open it up for some questions. And hopefully I move right along here. I still have control, right? Oh, there we go. All right. So how Smart Borrowing works, it's going to guide our students and our families through a series of different questions. So basically they're going to have to select a career. They have to put in where they think they're going to live. They're going to put in where they think they're going to go to school. They're going to put in how much they think they're going to borrow. They're going to put in how much they think they're going to make, and then we tell them the truth. And it really is eye-opening. We break it down into sections that they're able to easily read. They're able to compare up to 4 schools at a time. So you can see here, like I just mentioned, on the left-hand side, they're able to view their potential salary based on the choice. They're able to see how much it's actually going to cost. We put together a budget section already for students based upon that information in which they've put in the data that we have pulled out. And we're able to let students know, are you over borrowing for the particular job that you're planning to go to school for, or are you okay? Are you right on track? And we at FIA say that they shouldn't borrow more for about 4 years of education than what they're going to make their first year out of school. This really, really is eye-opening for students, especially when you're comparing a degree at 4 different institutions to see, you know, what's the best bang for your buck? Where are you going to be able to afford? We give some other information about becoming a smart borrower. Obviously, researching that expected salary, just like we said, making sure to have an affordable school. So often, for doing this for the past 10.5 years, I run into students that pick one school and apply to that one and only school. They receive their financial aid package, and quite frankly, it's not enough money for them to go to that institution. We want students to be able to apply to other schools, to have other options, to not put all their eggs in one basket. We want them to consider all types of financial aid carefully and to research it. Again, Jason mentioned students don't understand the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans, nor do parents. Recognize that we at FIA, our access partners across the state, offer financial aid nights. Please, please encourage your families to attend those financial aid nights. Don't wait until they're seniors in high school. They're more than welcome to come out in kindergarten. Any age group is able to come out and visit us. If at any time you want to share our materials, you're more than welcome to do so. Everything is free. Visit us out at YouTube. Type in FIA, P-H-E-A-A, student aid, and share the financial aid night presentation. Put it out on your website. Offer it at kindergarten registration. People think I'm crazy. I want to kiss babies. I think we need to start doing all of these things at a very young age so that our parents and our students are well-versed and are prepared for the future when it comes to post-secondary education and borrowing. You can see here, just before I finish up, how we do some crunching of the numbers. So just a couple little screenshots for you, obviously comparing those costs versus the career and outcome, and, you know, what can I afford to essentially borrow. One other website, YouCanDealWithIt.com, does also have budget calculators that are out there. So if you yourself are still paying back student loan or have children yourself that may be going on to college, there are some great budget calculators that are available free of charge for you to use. Another website that we at FIA offer for anyone within the United States. And with that, Hillary, that is my presentation that I have for you this afternoon. Do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Marla. That was fantastic. We
You're
did
welcome.
have a comment. Anybody else who has a question, feel free to post this in. One of our teachers, Trista Lucky, said she used this career cluster activity to have 8th grade students compare the results with careers they were already thinking about, and that it led to a great discussion. So validation of the great tool that you guys offer. If anybody else has questions for Marla, we're happy to take them. But I think, you know, I don't know about everybody else, but I think it's phenomenal the number of resources and how incredibly user-friendly they are, you know, that FIA provides. And I think there's sort of a little-known tool, perhaps more well-known by guidance counselors, maybe because of the work that they do with you guys, but less known, I think, by classroom teachers who really do and can have a great role in this. And you know, I think, you know, while certainly this is a little bit more aimed at the upper grade levels. Just to share a quick anecdote, I was walking through the halls of my own children's elementary school this week and was so excited to see that in the second grade hallway, there was student workout in the hall saying, "My mom is," or "My mom works," and or "My dad works." And I just thought, how awesome is that? That in second grade they're making that connection. And I stopped and had a little chat with the teacher about, talking about how that's how they earn their income and making those connections. And I saw a kindergarten teacher that just talked about they're introducing a unit on understanding careers and what people do that follows up on their community partners, community helpers field trip that they just took out to the grocery store and to the fire station and what have you. So, I think this is really vital information for kids. It's never too early to start thinking about what they want to do. They may be like me and still, make lots of changes and what have you throughout their plan. One plan doesn't always have to be set in stone, but certainly a lot of great tools to get them started. So thank you again for joining us, and really appreciate the time that you spent with us today.
Thank you so much. And if anyone has any questions, my email is there. It is mkane, K-A-N-E, at PHEAA, PHEAA.org, O-R-G. Also, feel free to visit your guidance counselor or your counselor at your school to learn some more information, because we also have other materials that are at no cost for you to order for in the classroom. And we also have lesson plans for those career education and work standards, grades 3, 5, 8, and 11, that match up with the standards and many Chapter 339 plans.